Good morning, everybody. How are you all? I hope you're having a fantastic hump day today. Now, I would like to welcome Jacqlin Richards, who is a parent empowerment mentor. Aren't you, Jacqlin?
I am, yes.
And you've got a company called Your Parenting Journey. Tell us more about what you do, because today the topic that we're focusing on today is parents as receivers, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers won't understand what that means.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that I had no idea about what that meant when I was in my early years as a parent either. So, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do and how I got to be doing what I'm doing and sitting on this live stream right with you today. So my transition into parenting, and this is all about the receiving, because as I said, I didn't really know what it meant either. My transition into parenting was a real bumpy road. Yeah, it was far from smooth, and I liken it to a bit of a car crash, which kind of makes me smile. And I know I'm not alone in this, kind of through birth and seeing this debris of life all around you. And I used to be in the corporate world. So, I was doing my work as an architect, corporate architecture. And my journey from that to stay-at-home mum was one hell of a journey. Yeah, that transition was one hell of a journey.
What sort of issues did you find yourself having?
Well, it was. I was living in London when I had kids, and my family. So I was away from my family. I didn't know anybody that had children. It was a complete blank canvas for me, and I was really rubbish at asking for help. I was absolutely rubbish at asking for help and support. And what I mean by that is I had no idea how to receive. And I would continually put myself at the bottom of the list.
It's very common, isn't it, for a lot of women particularly, that you end up being last in line.
Totally. If we even make it on the list, we're just at the bottom of the pile. So that part of my journey had me end up in hospital, because I ended up so depleted, so exhausted, so at the end of my rope, that I ended up in hospital with postnatal depression, anxiety. It wasn't what I signed up for when I first became a parent,
No, absolutely not. I mean, I remember at 6 weeks with my first child, of which I've got 4. After 6 weeks, I'm like, right, I'm over this now. I'm really contemplating putting a sign, "Free to a good home," on the street with him in his bassinet.
Yes. And I mean, it's like my rose-tinted, perfect painted picture, that I had envisioned for myself as a parent just didn't materialize. It wasn't my reality. And as you say, I know I'm not alone, and can't put it back in, and we can't sell it on Trade Me. So we've got to learn how to move into a different vision, a different picture of how we are as parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you and I have discussed before, parents are usually overgivers, aren't they? And I've seen in your work that you talk a lot about parent traps. Which one are they stuck in when they give too much?
Yes, this is a big trap, and so many of us, so many parents lose themselves when they become parents. This is why, this trap. So it's called the "we put our kids first" trap. Now, that's what I've named it. And what this is when you continue to put yourself last. You put your kids in front of everything. You drop everything for your kids, and you end up last on the list. And it's really easy to fall into this trap, like completely not dive in, when you might not have got the connection that you felt you needed when you were a kid. And it's really easy to do the opposite and to put them first, above, before yourself, before your relationship, before everything. So that's what this trap is about. And
there's a lot of resentment, isn't there, when that happens?
Absolutely. I remember talking to a friend about it, and she said, but it has to be me. It has to be me. And that kind of turns into, I'll just do it, and it just, you end up carrying an incredible responsibility, incredible burden of a load when we're stuck in this trap. And I mean, that's one version of the trap. The other version is when you kind of flip to the other side of the spectrum and you put everything else in front of your own needs. And that might be work, or, your partner's needs, or, or your friends, the community, everything outside of yourself that you put in front of yourself.
Mm. And with a lot of that, particularly women who are at home full time on their own with children, or the other partner, or they might be single parent, or they may have a partner that obviously that works, is that they end up feeling a loss of identity in who they are, and what is my purpose? Is my purpose now just to feed mouths and clean up?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. And we kind of, a lot of this trap is about losing our identity, losing ourselves as parents, but losing our passion, losing our passion for life. It's like, oh my, I used to be this corporate architect, sort of high flying, working in the biggest architectural practice in the world. And then all of a sudden I've got this newborn baby, what the heck do I do with that? And making that transition, especially because a lot of parents are waiting longer these days to have their kids. So it's a shock when they have it, when they have the kids, and then it's such a different world from the world that they were in before.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember thinking, what do you mean I need to get up every hour and a half and feed this child? I have to sleep. If you do it, I think they avoid at the antenatal classes the 24-hour clock, filling in actually when you'll be up with the child till the very end. So you can't get away from it. I remember that going, oh my God, I'm probably going to have about an hour and a half sleep, every night, which was true.
Yeah. And, we kind of fall into what I playfully call beliefs. Like the beliefs that we have about parenting and who we are as parents. And, if you've ever noticed that the word belief has the word lie in it, and I make it a playful thing because they really trip us up, these beliefs, these beliefs.
Absolutely. So you deal with a lot of parents that are stuck. I deal with a lot of potential divorcees and people going through separation who are really stuck too. And I always talk about, moving from the business of your story moving from your story to the business of divorce. So what are the impacts on them, parents themselves, their relationships and their children when they are stuck?
Yeah, and it's a big one. It really is. When parents continue to do this, continue to put everything outside of themselves in front of them, in front of the needs of themselves, they constantly end up a depleted pile of exhaustion on the floor. It's like they end up stuck in this trap, and it's a gluey, sticky trap. It really is, and with an empty tank. It's like they're running on fumes. They only have available the dregs at the bottom of the tank. And they're completely sleep deprived, like you say. You're waking up every hour, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Completely sleep deprived, exhausted, in pain, carrying a lot of pain, tension in their bodies, or ill. That's where they get to. And then they finally put their hand up and go, help, help. I really need help. But the issue with that, and this is one of the biggest impacts, is that then it's about recovery, not about nurture and nourishment. And this piece that really needs to be flipped. So that's the first sort of big impact on the individual. And with what you've just brought into the dialogue, Bridget, is that when we're putting the needs of our kids in front of our relationship, we're not feeding the needs of our relationship, which, let's face it, was there before the kids came along and is going to be the thing that is there when they leave, but if we're doing that, this big chasm appears in the relationship when we start to go like this, in completely different directions.
And I think some people have the idea or assume that, when you have children, it actually is going to make your relationship better. But in fact, it makes it a lot harder, doesn't it? That's one of the aspects that people actually end up getting separated.
Yeah.
Is the children.
Yes. It's one of the biggest questions that I ask parents is, why did you have kids? Because when they really start to dig underneath, the kind of surface reasons, they realize, oh, it was a bit of a Band-Aid, baby. Oops, we'll just put a Band-Aid over our relationship in the form of a baby. And then what happens when we have kids, we completely change. We completely change. And it's another trap that I love to talk about called the we parent from the past trap. Because we change, we completely turn into our parents or a reaction to them, and we do things that we never thought we'd do. Because in my relationship, my husband and I were like, oh, we're going to be 50-50 and we're going to share everything and we're going to, completely break up the practical tasks. And then when we had kids, all of that went out the window. It went out the window, and I completely shelved him. I just pushed him out the way. And this is the second biggest impact of this trap is that I became a single mother way before I ever was one, because I was simply repeating what I saw my mother do, and this is what happens. It completely knocks parents for six, because they just don't see it coming.
So you had a very traditional relationship growing up, in terms of your mother doing everything.
Yes, I mean, she did everything, and she was also a sole parent from when I was 5 as well. So I didn't have any reference point of her together parenting with somebody else. So there was no. Didn't know.
So wow, yeah. So how do people get out of these traps that they're in? How do they get out?
That's and this, in terms of getting out of these traps, putting your passions first, putting your needs first is a really big part of that, and that's finding what lights you up, what really lights you up, what blows you out, what blows your hair back and goes to bed in the morning. And the way that I love to language that is to find your yes energy, the yes energy.
Love it.
What gets you out of bed, and what makes you jump out of bed and go, right, I can't wait to own this day. And what that it does is that it gets us out of the rules and the shoulds, that things have to look a certain way. And what it also does is finding this yes energy is because so many of us are conditioned to say no. We say no a lot, especially as parents. No, you can't do that. No, you can't have this. And it just continues. But finding your own yes energy and nurturing your own needs first, the connection with yourself, it enables you to be able to say yes to so many other different things.
Yes, but bearing in mind that, a lot of people have to learn to say no because they take on too much.
Absolutely.
And overdo it. There's a happy medium there, isn't there?
There absolutely is. And the way that I love to talk about that is it's a bit like a seesaw. You're either really good at it or you're a bit rubbish at it, and you need to flip to the other end and try it out so you can find that happy medium, that balance point in the middle. And it's so relevant in terms of learning how to say no actually helps us to say yes. So
yes, mental health. It's Mental Health Week this week, and in terms of mental health, that comes into it in a huge way, because if you're able to nurture yourself and nourish yourself by eating properly, exercising, sleeping, having time out, whether you go and have a coffee or whether you go and catch up with some friends, actually ends up making you a better parent, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And this is the biggest piece about learning how to receive, because so many of us are giving. All of our energy is going outside of ourselves, and we've got nothing left in the tank at all. And when we go to be a parent, we're hardly shining our light. Let's just say that. And being sort of not able to nurture and nourish ourselves, not only does it impact the connection with our children because we're negative or we're yelly or we're just stressed and tense, but it also teaches them through our behavior to do exactly the same thing. To continue to put everything outside of themselves in front of themselves as well. So there's a lot in this in terms of being able to begin to get really, really good at receiving so that we can overfill our tank, overfill it.
Absolutely. And my next Facebook Live, which I'm actually doing at 12 o'clock, I'm talking about people that are eating their feelings through divorce is eating issues and alcohol issues and drug issues are massive in these days with all the stress that's happening. And people really have to make a huge effort. If they need help, reach out and get help for those issues that they have so they can get them under control, and then they can go back to being the person that they really want to be, who's in control of all of that.
Yeah. And what I find when I work with the parents that I work with, it's so clear that those types of behaviors, those issues, come from a deficit. They come from a deficit of love and nurture and self-care and nourishment for ourselves. And when I talk about, because I dropped in self-care and self-love, and they're real buzzwords at the moment. Oh, you just need to love yourself more. You just need to care for yourself more. And the thing is that there's such a conditioned mindset around that it doesn't work if we just say the words, or maybe go and get a massage once every 3 months, or go and have a coffee out. There's a big mindset shift that needs to happen in terms of putting ourselves first and being able to receive.
Absolutely. People feel guilty about it. And I think too, it comes also from the past of you've got to put your children first before anything, which I think there's still a lot of that mindset actually. And people don't know actually what self-care is. I mean, I talk about it with my clients all the time. Obviously, predominantly the clients that I see are not in a good state when they first come and see me. And we always talk about what is that and how are they implementing it in their life? And if they're not, how can they do that to a greater degree? So Jacqlin, tell me, what are two of your top tips or takeaways that you would give our viewers?
Well, I mean, what I would love to offer is that the most transformative thing that you can do in your life as a parent, is to learn how to receive, to actually put your needs first and start to flip this mindset, so that what this does is that it's like breathing. If we focus on the inhale, the exhale becomes organic. It happens naturally. So if we focus on the inhale as where we receive the air, just like the ocean does and the trees do, and then they go through that process of photosynthesis, and then they give out to the world, and it just happens as an organic process. And then you're inviting your kids to do the same. And what I would love to give as a piece to complete is my freedom acronym, because what I find is that when parents are able to open themselves up to receiving more, then they find so much more freedom in their lives. So if you think about the word freedom down the side, then the F would be to find awareness around those beliefs that stand in your way, because there are things that stand in your way. They're loaded with guilt, loaded with shame, loaded with, I don't deserve this, I'm not good enough, all of those pieces. So find awareness around those beliefs, so then you can change your relationship to them, because they never go away. We just want to be able to say, yeah, I see you there, and not let it, completely trip us.
Absolutely. And, we all are still waiting for our parenting manuals in the post, aren't we?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do, the work that I do. It's like, do you want the parent manual? I've got it. We can help you with this.
Totally. So tell us about your online programs that you've got. And none of them are sort of waitlisted, aren't they? You're so popular and so busy.
Yes, well, it's amazing, because I have these online programs which you'll hear more about the freedom acronym, which I was going to share. But what these programs are about is about empowering you, to face slap your way out of anything. And this is about acceptance. It's about, gosh, we're all in these traps, which I talk about. And I'm happy to link you all to a freebie if you're interested, which has, all of the traps and some questions around it, which is really enlightening. And also, once you've empowered yourself into acceptance and the new awareness, you can start to engage in content. And this is what I do, which brings you back to you. Yeah, I'm not just going to tell you what to do. I'm going to bring you back to you, so you can find out what's authentic to you. And then when you're in that place, you can do something different. You can overfill your tank. You can find ways to receive every single day, and you can make it happen now, because our kids, not waiting for your kids to get older, doing it now, taking and enjoying your life now, creating the life that you want now, is all about the work that I'm doing. So at the moment, I've got an incredible program which starts next week, and it's all about lifting yourself out of the "we put our kids first" trap, or the "we put everything else around us in front of our own needs" trap. So either which version you're in, that's what this program is all about. And it starts next Tuesday. I'm super excited. The spaces are filling, and as you say, I've got a couple of waiting lists for my programs which are in the future. So there's a lot going on, and a lot of support coming for parents who are needing to parent in a really different way through these really different circumstances that we are all in at the moment.
Brilliant. So how can people find out more about you?
Well, I have a page on Facebook called Your Parent Journey. I have an awesome group which I've been growing since about the beginning of the year, which is full of like-minded parents who really want to do things differently, and that's at Your Parent Journey Group. You can also find me on my website, which is www.yourparentjourney.com. And as I said, I'm happy to link people to a free downloadable, which also will connect you to my list, where you'll get free newsletters, and just keep up to date with what I'm doing.
Brilliant, brilliant. So any final words that you'd like to impart?
Yeah, well, I think the last piece that I would love to say is, if you're not, if there are bits that you want to change in your parenting, you absolutely can. And once you can find acceptance around the fact that we're all in these traps, we all fall into them, we all turn into our mums and dads, or through them, we do. And when we can go like, oh my gosh, I totally just, my mother's words just fell out of my mouth, and find a playfulness, acceptance around it, then we can start to do something different. And I know for me, when I finally made the move to find my own parent mentor, my life completely transformed. Completely transformed, because the way that we relate to people, ourselves, our partners, our children, is all based on the way that we were parented. It's all based around parenting.
What was the culture you grew up in, the traditions that you upheld, all of that?
And our life revolves around relationships. So for me, it's the most important part of life, is to find awareness, find empowerment, find more fun and freedom in the way that we relate to ourselves and others.
Freedom. Yeah. Everyone think about that word and write it down, bold it, and stick it on your fridge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really informative and educational, and I just love your little sayings that you've got. The yes mentality is really positive and fantastic, and we all need to take that on board. I definitely would love to have you back again on Facebook Live, and we'll do some more live soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. If anyone's got any questions, do reach out to either of us, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for joining us. Bye now.
Bye.